stop recording.
It's like every time I have to try and be normal, I'm very, very weird.
Well, be normal and maybe introduce yourself.
My name is Maja Irene Bolier or Bolier, depending on how fancy I want to sound at the time.
And what do you do?
What don't I do?
You're an artist, so start with that.
Well, usually when you tell people you're an artist, if they're not an artist, they're like, oh, so you paint. I pretty much do everything but paint. So I am a filmmaker. I make documentaries. I'm a writer. I write poetry. I give workshops, bringing art out of the white cube and into the community. What else do I do? I make costumes, which I use for performance art. And I make, when I can't do any of those things, I make collage.
Where did it all start? Like, what did you start with? So there had to be a beginning. There's a lot of things.
What, art-wise? I don't know, probably started when I was a kid. I used to draw a lot. I don't do that anymore because I feel I'm not good enough. Although I could be if I practice, but I don't have the patience. But sometimes I do still draw, but it's quite abstract. So I guess it started with that. And like, I don't know, I'd always faff around. But my real practice, I guess, started... Oh yeah, I did a lot of photography as well, but sort of documentary style photography. Just
Seems a common theme. What is it about documentary that what
Well-
drew you to documentary work, filmmaking, and photography?
Well, it's not really my basic. My documentaries are... well, I wouldn't call them documentaries. Like, some of them sort of seem like that, but another word that has been used for what I do is sort of like film essay. So there's lots of words in my films usually, and they're usually telling a story, I guess. And most of them come out of something... like a sense of urgency that I need to get something out of me, or I want to say something.
Is there like a niche, I guess, or is there a particular kind of part of life that you are documenting, or?
No, not really. No. Well, with my photos, I was like, because I'm from the rave scene and the squat scene in Europe, I used to document that a lot. But I wouldn't say that's a huge part of my practice. It's just something that happened because that's what I was living. And one of my last documentaries, I interviewed 7 migrants about the feeling of living between two worlds and homesickness, and also like, trying to fit into a new life.
Is this in Europe?
Yeah. And I guess that's also one of the red lines through my work, is that I grew up here and I've been living there, but I don't really feel like I'm from anywhere. So I used to tell this story, my own story, in one of my other films. It's called Displacement and Adaptation. But then at one point, as an artist, or for me, I got sick of talking about myself. So I had like questions, but I was like, how do other people answer those questions for themselves? So that's why I started like going out of myself and interviewing others.
What I guess you being coming from here, from Australia to Europe, whereabouts in Europe?
I live in the Netherlands, and I have for 20 years, which is terrifying. Like, that went really fast.
Actually, what took you from here? Why did you leave Australia and go there to the Netherlands?
It's a long story. It got pretty bad here, I guess, when I was younger. So I sort of had to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. and like within a week I was gone.
Okay.
I packed all my stuff within a week, and I started a new life with one suitcase and a box.
Bad how? You can share if you want.
Pardon?
You can share your story if you want there. What?
Mm.
Or not. That's okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with art, but basically some meth heads wanted to murder me.
That's a good reason for leaving.
But also my mum was sort of, I don't know, things were really bad at home and it just wasn't working. My mum had sort of given up. So it was kind of like very sudden and traumatic and scary. Yeah.
Is it in the Netherlands you started your arts career? Like,
Definitely.
I guess it was after leaving, after the meth heads. And...
Yeah. I didn't, so I always wanted to go to art school. But I was under the radar. So my father thought I was an illegal immigrant for a few years. So I never went to high school. And I just traveled Europe, like going from squat to squat, rave to rave. You know, it's an amazing community. We all have like trucks that we live in, and we just go and set up these beautiful, wonderful parties and communities, all underground and all ours, I guess, all out of the system. And so that's the kind of life I landed in, that I still live in.
How does that compare to, I guess, being settled in one spot?
I don't know what that is. Actually, I've been living in a squat now for 8 years, and that's the longest I've lived anywhere in my life. So I used to move, even when I was in Australia, I moved 13 times before I was 14.
Wow.
Yeah, and I guess this is actually something that has a direct effect on my work, because it doesn't matter what I'm doing, if it's my filmmaking or my collage, or there's always like a sense of fragmentation. It is literally a reflection of a life in an in-between state.
You can see that in your collage work there, definitely.
Yeah, like I never just make one thing. That it's like, it's not just like, oh, it's a sculpture, it's here, it's boom. It's always, it's layered. And I guess that must be a reflection of maybe the life that I've led.
Some of your collage work has a lot of kind of sexuality in them and things like that. Where does that come from? What are you trying to convey with that work?
Well, I find that's like, with my collage work, I find it one of the most difficult things to talk about, because I wasn't completely aware of what I was doing. But the first time I'd found some of that erotica, it was this beautiful magazine. It was like it was from the 60s, and it was just so, the photos were just beautiful, but the girls were teenagers. So it had this like, oh, this is such a beautiful aesthetic, but then it was like, ew, these people, they're underage, and that's not cool. And so I started like morphing. First I was drawing, and I was putting my drawings through it and sort of giving them back that sort of decency or something. And then recently I've realized it's all about like playing with the power dynamic and cutting through the male gaze. And also making choices how I want to see things, or, yeah, it's about that choice, I guess. And I do the same with my costumes. It's all about, like, having control about what people see. Because my costumes are all, they're very, you know, like they're suits with, like, hundreds of tits. They're all kind of scary, and they're a bit freaky. But that's what I want to put out there. It's like, it's going to be ugly, but it's my ugly, you know?
Would you say you're taking like an anti-porn stance, or was that too far?
No, I wouldn't say I'm taking an anti-porn stance, because porn's alright. But I'm just like trying to shape it into my own image. And actually what I'm doing is not sexual. at all. I don't think. For me, then. Like I don't look at it like. Yeah, I don't look at it sexually or something. Yeah.
And that's obviously your documentary.
I'm sort of like
is very different.
yes, that's another thing. Like so when people ask me about my work, I'm like, well, where do we start? Because I do like hundreds of different things, but they're all, I guess, loaded together with the one thing, which is my complex identity.
Do you share that work, like say, like the collage work, with your documentary subjects?
Never.
You keep that separate?
Yeah.
Is there a reason why? Do you think it's because they'll see you maybe differently or negatively?
No, it's just like two totally different things. Okay. Like if I'm approaching somebody to talk about migration or stuff like that, then I'm not gonna be like, hey, look at this erotic collages I make. You know, it's got nothing to do with it, and it will throw them off. So I take on very many different roles as an artist, also as a teacher when I'm doing these workshops. Like then I do collage club, and that's lots of fun. And then I would show my collages. But I also do like writing and bookmaking workshops, and then I'd show my book of poetry instead. So it's just like I'm a bit of a chameleon, and I can go and be a lot of different things as an artist.
What kind of subjects does your poetry tackle? Is there something else there as well, like that differentiates from the collage, from the documentary? Is there another?
Well, I think my poetry is the sort of glue that holds everything together, because most of my work is born of poetry. And I never realised how important writing was until last year when I released the book, because I'd made another film, and like most of my films are text-based. So there's imaging, but there's always like a narrative. And then I was working with someone, and they were like, you do realise how good this text is. Like, it's good as a text. You don't even need a film with it. And I was like, oh. Mm-hmm. So I started really tapping into that, and that's when I released my book, In All Your Filth and Glory. Yeah.
That's an interesting title. Is it? Why? Why that title?
Because I literally am a trash princess. Like I like all the rough and the dirty, weird, obscure, fun, strange, and messy things in life, and I live it.
I caught you in a moment there.
All right, we got to clap. We'd never be able to clap together, so do you remember what we were talking about?
Do you?
Not really.
We're talking about your life on the road.
I guess it hasn't really been on the road. It's not like I'm the only one of my friends without a fucking driving license. Like they're all on the road all the time. I'm just like, but I do. It's on the road a lot compared to most people, I guess.
I mean, it's not really something that's that common in Australia.
People living in trucks or vans?
Not young people.
Yeah, you've got the grey nomads.
Is it something you could see yourself doing here?
No, because I still don't have a license. But maybe if I ever get that license. I haven't got one because I'm too busy making art. And also it costs like $4,000 in Holland.
Really?
Yeah, it's like 2,000 euros.
Wow.
So I've never got my license because every time I have 2,000 euros, I buy a ticket to Australia to see my family.
So obviously you miss them a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing in my work, I guess, that the longing and the missing. Yeah.
Just a family or friends or Australia in general?
I don't know.
Is there a longing for
Yeah, I guess so.
all those things?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe I should have bought my book because my friend, so the man who helped me write the book, he's got this amazing sentence that he gave me about my work, which I'm just totally blanking on now. Can you pass me my book? It's like in the front pocket of the bag. There are two in there. Which means you have to get in camera after all.
We're going on. I was going to say, what's the... Okay, we're back online.
Okay,
Lean
we're
back.
back online.
Leave the back because I haven't changed the focus on the camera.
So after some small technical difficulties, we're back on track. And I have no idea what we were talking about.
I lost it too.
Well, I was getting this blurb for some reason, because if I am talking about my work, I was recently working with a very special person who helped me write an artist's biography, an artist bio, the dreaded artist bio that everybody hates writing. And we came up with this, which I'd like to read to you because I feel like it works. Okay, ready? Although her work exists in various themes and mediums, something she feels is ever present is the 14,784 kilometers between her past life and her current one. This is the amount of the distance between the two countries she grew up in. In this space, she became an artist. There is always a certain fragmentation of image, a reflection of a life in an in-between state. The feeling of being there and not being there at the same time meets the longing of not being. Maja's work is an exploration of yearning, identity, and distorted sensuality crushed under the weight of half-forgotten childhood memories. Boom! Mic drop.
Darkness there.
I know, but all of my work is like, there's a lot of darkness in my work, but I guess a lot of light somewhere as well. Like sometimes I ask myself, am I the classic suffering artist? When do I cut off my ear?
Where do you think your creativity comes from?
Oh, I need to. If I don't make art, I'll die. Like, I just need to make stuff. I've always needed to make stuff. I don't understand people who don't need to make stuff. Like, it's just...
They probably don't understand you.
No. No, it's just like in my life. Like, I need to make things. It's just a... I'm forgetting my English. Is there a word called integral? No. It's just this thing, this part of me.
There is.
Yeah. It just has to be done.
Have you ever tried not making?
Yeah. I've been on holidays for 3 months and I'm getting anxiety not making. But yeah, of course, you can't always create. You can't force yourself to create. Creativity is something that unfortunately can't be forced. It's not like a 9 to 5. That's another thing with art. People don't know how hard it is to be like a working artist because you're your own promo. You have to ask for all these grants. You have to constantly be in a state of mind to create and do stuff, but you can't always be that. And you can't switch off. It's not a 9 to 5. Maybe if you're just making like a one thing, or there's difference. What's that word? In Holland, it's called ambacht, and that means like pottery or just like an old craft. Oh, craft. It would be craft. Yeah. You've got some art that's creative, but it can also be a job.
Kind of like a trade.
Trade, I guess. I don't know. Trade sounds a bit too rough for like pottery and all these other things. Yeah. I know it's hard to stay creating all the time, and I'm really hard on myself a lot. But you do need these breaks in between it to actually keep going. It's a struggle.
So you can't see yourself just ever dropping it. I know some artists have, myself included, have kind of in the past said they've tried to stop, like completely.
Really?
frustrating.
Yeah.
But haven't been able to do it. That's not something you've ever thought about trying? Or?
No, I think art for me is like breathing. And it doesn't even matter to me that I'm not... I'm fucking happy now that I've got shows and things are happening. But even if I didn't, like, I'd still make stuff. It's the only way I process things, and it's the only way... And I just want to. Like, even if I'm not making art, I'm like making clothes, or I'm always doing something creative. And yeah, I don't know. I don't care if I'm a professional artist or if I'm just in my studio doing something that somebody will never see. Like, it's nice if people see it. But, as long as I can make, I'm happy.
Well, would you say the process is more important than the result?
No, I like to get results. I like to get results, but I also like the process. It makes me happy. Like, collage is something that always comes easy. It's something I can always do. Actually, some days I can't. Some days nothing works, but it's like something I do without thinking about it too much. Like making a documentary sometimes that's hard. That's a process, especially when you need like other people. Same with my performances and stuff. Like, I need a whole crew to do the theatre. I need people, I need dancers, I need actors, I need a lot of stuff. I need people to wear my costumes to make it happen. And I can't just always do that. That's a lot of organising. So I'm not just an artist as a visual artist, I'm also an artist as organizer, and I do organize a lot. And another thing that's really important for me is like getting artists together, because I love how works together can elevate and resonate. And also, because I'm from the squat scene, because I'm from a place, I've lived a life based on solidarity and not profit. I just really want everybody to shine, because in the art world, everybody's like, everybody wants their shit to work and they don't give a fuck about anybody else. And it's such an egocentric, horrible... Ugh, I really don't like the art world, but at the same time, I want to be there, but I don't. So that's why I focus on smaller art spaces and stuff. I'd love to be in galleries and museums, but I'm too punk.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. And also, art should connect and not divide. And I feel like, you've got this chic art and this rich and this poor and all this money that goes around. And, I'd love to make money for my art, which I do. But I'd much prefer to bring people together and make people feel things and help people shine and, let people tell their stories with one of my workshops or in one of my movies. And that's really important to me.
There's a bit of frustration, I guess, with the commercial art world.
Well, I just don't fit in it. Like, every now and then I dabble or I dip my foot in, and I just... then I make a bit of money at an art fair or something, but it's not my place. It's literally like... I don't live in the normal world, let alone the art world. Yeah.
I think we've got it. I think we've got enough.
Yeah, okay.
I think we've got enough. Okay. I've run out of questions.
Oh, there you go.
I've run out of questions, but I'm very self-conscious. It's still recording though. Oh, did you want to... I forgot about your books.
I've got books.
I'll plug you. Don't worry, I'll plug you in the bio.
I've got books. I'm just thinking like maybe I should finish it with a piece of text, but I should have thought about this before I did the interview.
Read us some text.
No, it's got to completely fit with the interview, and I'm not sure if it can.
Well, the interview's about you, so anything that you've made fits in with the interview. Do you want me to pick a page?
No. Okay. No, I'm just going to read something that somebody else wrote about me.
Okay.
Visual artist and performer Maja Irene Bolier is a woman of the word. Behind every image, in every work of art and film, there is always the poetic expression that constitutes her work. Nowhere sentimental, always passionate, and with strong metaphors, this poetic talent develops. I hate that. No, I love it. But that's about my poetry, not about my art. But I guess it's also about my art, because this person helps me with a lot of things.
Who wrote that?
He's the ex-director of 2 prominent art universities in the Netherlands and Belgium. And we worked together for a year closely. And I don't know, he's like this little old guru, kind of amazing, quiet. He's just so relaxed and I'm so chaotic. And somehow we got paired together to do this thing. And yeah, it's been really very, very good for my art. Thank you, Ad van Rosmalen.
Excellent. Thank you, Maja.
Wait, last thing, it's nice, like, when people believe in you. And even if they don't, just keep making your stuff. Okay, now I'm done.
That's nice. Okay, you can leave now.